So I was going to write this devotion on an idea I had about being a soccer mom, but with the recent events in my life, I decided to talk about something different. For those of you that don't know, my husband Mike and I were coming home from a mission trip in Guatemala on June 30th. Our travel down there was a little rocky, and we ended up spending the weekend in Atlanta and flying out as 4 separate mission trip groups on Sunday. So we finally made it to our home base Monday at dinner time. Not really what was planned, but we were glad to be there. We spent the week in a little village in the remote mountains of southeastern Guatemala, and our village time was really great. But too quickly we found ourselves back on the road to the airport again in Guatemala City to fly to Atlanta for a layover and then on to BWI. But my husband Mike started to feel incredible pain in his abdomen literally as he was boarding the plane in Guatemala City bound for Atlanta. So long story short, we landed in Atlanta. We left the airport in an ambulance because of a hernia, which resulted in a bowel blockage. So what happened next is just kind of a whirlwind of memories. The emergency room, the admittance to a regular room, waiting for a resolution, finding out that Mike needed surgery, post-surgery pain and complications, transferring to the ICU, and then finally, 11 days later, a little bit of recovery and heading home, minus 1 hernia and 1 obstructed bowel, but happy to be home. So I wanted to write this post because of all the things that happened during that whirlwind of events. Since we were several states away from almost all of our family and friends, we kept them updated on changing medical circumstances via Facebook. And our wonderful family surrounded us, and they've always been there for us. We knew that. They would always be there with love and encouragement. But what we didn't know ahead of time was the huge way that our church family would respond. Congregation members sent text messages and Facebook messages, emails and notes, gifts, cards. They mowed our lawn. They gathered money to send my youngest son Jesse, down to Atlanta for the weekend so he could see Mike. And they sent money down with my son so we would have spending money. They were prayer warriors for us the whole time we were there and when we got back too. And we felt such love and peace from our church in the midst of everything that was going on, even though there were a lot of hurdles to get over. And they were definitely days where we felt like just the raging waters of discouragement rising around us. And so that's the reason for my blog today, or my devotion, called Why I Believe in the Church. Church is supposed to work exactly like it did when we were away and we needed help. If you look at the earliest accounts of Christian churches in Scripture, you'll notice that members of the church had very close relationships. In Acts 2, 42 to 47, it says they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, and to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who was in need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all people. Those who believe that you don't have to belong to a church to be a Christian are missing this incredible richness in their lives. They're missing the love and support that comes from Christians selflessly helping other people. This is the church in action. It's what church was meant to be, more of a verb than a noun. I believe that what happened to Mike and I is exactly what should happen in all of our churches today. In today's society, the prevalent point of view is what's in it for me. People attend church to see what will be provided for them. How am I going to benefit from going to church? And I just don't believe that's biblical at all. We are here on earth to show love to as many people as possible, especially those that worship with us on a regular basis. John 15, 2 and 3 says, "My command is this, love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." I've said this before in one of my devotions, but here it is again. Both the church and the community are full of people just like you who are struggling through seasons in life. We're called to help each other in any way that is possible. That looks different for every person. What you are able to help with is different than what I can help with, and that in turn is different than what maybe your pewmate can do to help somebody. The what is not as important as the why. We're commanded to love each other, period. While I wouldn't wish to repeat much of the last month, I would definitely keep the part where the love of our church family surrounded us. It was a blessing to know that they were there to lift us up. So maybe you're on the fence about church these days. I would recommend that you try again. Try again to attend worship regularly. Try again to try a small group. Try again to make connections with others who think that love is important. Take part in activities, help out with others around the community, invest in the lives of others for the sake of the gospel. If you do, the grass will definitely be greener on that side of the fence.